Hello, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. This is Trey Jernigan with Palmetto State Geckos. If you've subscribed to the channel, you know I do some of these interviews, docu-films where I talk to breeders in the leopard gecko community. So today, I've been very lucky to be blessed with Jay Coleman from Eco Gecko. Everybody knows Jay. Everybody who has ever seen a Black Knight online has seen one of his, probably, even if it's somebody else. Big fight for him. So today we're going to do it a little bit different. We're just going to ask him some questions and get to know him. Jay, how you doing?
I'm a good brother. You?
I'm doing all right. It's early here. It's 6:58. That's what 12 o'clock your time. So yeah. Do what we got to do. Oh, who's in the back? Was that a dog?
Yep. Well, I've got two actually. I don't know if you can see them. They're on the sofa. They will most likely bark at any old noise.
Hey, I've got two kids that will most likely bang on this door as soon as they find out I'm in here. But we're going to ignore that and we're going to get to content on it. So, like I said, I like to share a little presentation while we're doing this. If anybody watched my Jeff Galewood piece, they saw that also. So let's get to the second screen. and let's get going. So, who is Jay Coleman of Eco Gecko? Give me 1 second to swap over to the actual presentation. Jay, who are you? Where are you from? We all know England, but what part of England are you from?
I'm from South London. So, well, I say South London. It's a small town called Crawley. It's about half hour, 45 minutes away from central London. Nice little, well, I say nice little area. Actually, it's not a very nice area. It's got one of the worst reputations in the UK, I'd say.
Wow.
Yeah.
All that gecko money, you should be moving I don't even know, somewhere in Suffolk.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Oh, yeah. Obviously, in the area I do live in is one of the worst areas within Crawley also. So any given time, anyone can just, come to my house and rob what they want. It's
Wait a minute. So what you're telling me is when I go to France next week, I could go to rob you and you would just think it was somebody from the street. You wouldn't have.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. We'll try to edit that part out.
Yeah.
So I think I saw your apartment on Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels. I think it's right down the street from there. Yeah. But, actually, and I say Suffolk because, when you talk genetics, we that's one of the big reasons a lot of us are in leopard geckos. I love genetics and I love our personal genetics. So technically, when I can trace my last name's Jernigan. I can trace that all the way back to when we came from England to America, and we owned Somerley. I can't say it correctly, but we owned a hall in Suffolk for 400 years.
Oh, good.
We're knights, all that stuff. So I have a long British UK family line that goes through there. So that's why I pick up really quick on the verbiage while I'm talking to y'all. So, okay. So, and this is, of course, pictured a little British kid going down the trail. What got you down the line of reptiles and leopard geckos?
Yes. Well, so actually I was around 15, I think I was. And this is a time where I'm just leaving school. I think I was doing my end exams and, I was actually playing Kirby. It's a game here in England where you go opposite side of the streets and you can throw a ball and you've got to try and hit the curb. And I was with my best friend and we were just talking about what we're going to do after school and that. And he said, "Oh, why don't we sell the goal was, he was like, why don't we build a reptile shop in the garage and make all the displays and sell animals?" And I was like, "What, breed them and sell them?" And he was like, "Yeah," and it just took off from there. I researched everything I could about not just leopard geckos. It was any lizard, iguanas, you name it. And I tried putting in place this this shop in my garage. However, being that young, obviously you have parents. Well, I had my mother. She was having none of it. She'd rather me go and work elsewhere with a proper job, she said. And that's what I had to do. So what I did was I brought 1 or 2 leopard geckos as a pet, and I got a job in flooring as soon as I left school. As you know, I do floor laying, and it was around this time. Obviously, I was working every day. I think I was earning something like £35. That's about $40 maybe every day. And I was when I got a bit of money behind me, I did a bit of traveling, but I got a few more. This is when I got a few more leopard geckos, and I decided to breed. So I bred my first one. I only got 1 egg, bear in mind, and since then,
was that a Black Knight? Your first? What was your?
Oh, my first one was a normal. It was a normal hypo, but it was a pet shop gecko, bear in mind. Right. And the other was a raptor, I believe. There you go.
See, that's funny. I didn't know that. But my first breeding pair that I have most of the babies from right now are just a Tang Emerine super hypo to a white and yellow raptor. So yeah, that's funny. All right. So I know you have other reptiles. Why did you go specifically more mainstream with leopard geckos? And you've been doing this. You said 15, so you're 22, is like 7 years.
Yeah, I'm 22 now, so I think I started around 15. So leopard geckos, it was when I produced my first one. It was the genetics. So obviously, I put in my mind I wasn't all too keen on genetics being that young. So when I did put a raptor to a hypo, the raptor is like a very nice yellowish color. I thought I'm going to get like a half and half gecko, a half normal looking, but also with like half yellow kind of thing. Obviously, 'cause that's how I thought it worked. And when it popped, I just got a normal, and it spiked an interest, and I thought, what is going on there? And it was from there I thought, let's knuckle down and let's learn. Through that process, I obviously ended up getting more and more and more, and learning as much as I could, and it just happened.
Right. Yeah, I've got the same issue because I knew a little bit more. I'm much older than you, so when I do the same thing. When I get into anything, it takes me forever before I'll pull the trigger because I have to know everything about it before I do it. And I knew going in with that first pairing that they were simple, but I was really hoping to get Raptor Tang mix and so the Tang is like 60% trimper, and I've yet out of all of them to even come close to hitting. I've come really close. Me and George were really confused about this one I had that was real close to being albino, but I still haven't hit an albino. She's been really good for her first year. She's like 12 eggs already, and I haven't hit one yet. So I'm kind of maybe doubting how much albino was in the original one, even though I got it from a pretty decent breeder. So, it's the genetics about it and what you can do, especially when you're starting off. You're like, oh, wow. And you're playing with Morph Market with the calculator. Yeah. And you're starting to realize, wait a minute, like there are like 10 different things that you can hit on some of these pairings. So I've just found it so much easier to get the ones where you're going to hit 100% this, 100% that.
Yep. Yeah. It was the obviously the genetical behind it all. Sorry. So when I started learning about the genetics, I kind of thought, okay, it's pretty easy to hit a tramp. All you got to do is, let's say you get one, you breed it to a normal, and then you breed the babies back, you're going to get trempers because it's going to be 100% het. Mm-hmm. However, when I started looking into the line breeding, the polygenic traits, that is when I knew what I was going to do. It's more work, but so much more rewarding.
Yeah. If you watch Jeff's interview, we talk about that, and he said a lot of people, they're so scared of line breeding, and they're so, I told him because we were talking specifically about Supergiants and about how people get very angry with him when he says that he believes Supergiants are line bred, they're polygenic. And for one, I said it was because Trimper said it wasn't. So that's why a lot of people, they read something and they think, oh, that's the gospel.
Yeah.
But a lot of people they're hopeful that things are recessive because it's easier. It's like, if you put a het with a het, you're going to get this. You get, a dominant with a dominant, you're going to get this. Line breeding, you don't know you're going to get that. You hope and you pray and you get this, and then you have to get the best of the couple, and then you keep going. And it's a lot of hard work. And that's why, what Fairy did with these was phenomenal, and what some other breeders are doing with their lines is phenomenal. And people don't think about it just because it's the tremendous amount of work.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you can, like yourself, I wouldn't say cut a corner, but like what I'm doing, build yourself on a platform to where you can cut out a lot of that time by spending the money, doing the research, and getting the best of all of them. But it's still going to be work. I mean, there's still tons of, because there's no guarantee if you can have the two blackest geckos ever, and they're not going to always put out black babies.
Oh yeah, 100%. This is what a lot of people don't understand with the Black Knights. It's a lot more hard than it seems. You don't just get 2 black geckos and then end up with 10 more. It does not work like that. Mm-hmm. I was told, at least by every breeder I know, don't get them. Don't get them. You'll fail. You will not do anything with them. No one's going to ever buy them. And I just said, I don't care. If I can get these geckos, produce what I want to produce, I've won. And that's all that matters. I get a lot, obviously, with my Instagram, I get a lot of people going, I want a black gecko, I want a black gecko. I want to breed them, because I go, that's absolutely fine, but do your research, because these geckos don't breed very well. If you're looking to do make a profit on a Black Knight, look how many I have. I've not flipped any profit.
I was about to say, if they did their research, they'd have known you haven't sold any. You don't really. I mean, not that you haven't sold any, but
yeah, I don't make a profit off the geckos itself. Obviously that goes down the business road. I will talk about a little bit later, but yeah, I always say, especially if you're going to start out start small. I started with 2 Diablos, and I had more fun that season than I ever have on any other season, only because it was my first proper season. I knuckled down exactly what I wanted to produce, and I produced absolute insane geckos. Obviously, they were just white, but to me, the purest white was just as good as the blackest gecko there was.
Yeah, that's why I'm not, of course, having an all-black gecko is really cool, but I don't see why people don't also have the same interest for a solid white gecko. Like, I have a Blazing Blizzard, and I think that's just as cool. She's solid white. I mean, it's, but again, I mean, you're playing to the crowd. A lot of reptile people, they like certain things, and
yeah,
a solid black gecko is beautiful. And I've heard you say this, I think yesterday. Yeah, it was yesterday on your live, and I believe it too. I hold it true that even if the 2 really dark ones that I have, and if you go to my YouTube page and you watch my Black Knight video, you'll see them. Even if they never produce, it's still cool to have those 2. Like, I love, every time I go in the gecko room, I know both of them are going to be sitting there, they're going to be looking at me, and they're going to be ready for food. And if I want to take them out, they're going to be, receptive. And it's just awesome having them.
Yeah, 100%. I agree. I kept a lot back to, obviously, being in the position I'm in, I do have a lot of demand for the Black Knight. So I do promise a lot of breeders.
I think this is the biggest understatement anybody's ever said on the internet.
And a lot of breeders are always wanting my Black Knights, and I've always never had enough to say, all right, here you go, I can give you some from my line. This year, I'm able to let go of a few. I'm talking maybe 5, 6 at the maximum, but that doesn't even scratch the surface. You know what I mean? I promise. Yeah. I've tried not to promise people geckos, because they're good friends of mine. They talk to me, oh, please, can I get one? Can I get one? I said, there's you and thousands of other people that are asking me the same thing, and they're going, "Oh, could you let me know? Can I be first?" I'm just saying, "Can I get photos?" All I have to say is I can't, because I have to keep it fair, and as long as it's fair, I just said it'll be on the website, and then who first come first served kind of thing.
Yeah. No, I realized that when I first started, I was like, yo, I'm gonna buy one. And maybe this is one of the things I didn't research as much. I mean, I knew who had it, and I tried to get in touch with Ferry, but it's not a very easy thing. He's not a very, and for justifiable reasons. Mm. And then I started talking to you, and you're such a good person, because you talk to people like they're the only person that's messaging you, and it's always very inviting. But then I realized there were times when you were like, you would repeat the same thing. And I'm like, man, this fucking guy has got to be getting like a million people like me ignorant to the demand. And yet you're taking the time to actually respond, to actually tell these people, oh yeah, when I've got one available, you sure to be able to, but people have to understand that you're getting maybe 4 or 5, like you said, that you want to actually let go. Fertility issues, things like that. It's just there's not a whole lot for you to let go, and it'd be like that. What I'm about to ask you in a second, you'd be. And I had heard George say this yesterday. When you get rid of a gecko and it turns out to be the best ever, you're all happy for the No, bullshit. You get rid of, like, if I got rid of a super giant and ended up being the biggest ever, I'm gonna be like, shit.
That's exactly what George did.
Yeah, like, and I've heard him say that, so I know. Like, I love you, George, but I know, like, if I get rid of one of Odin's babies and it turns out to be 220 grams, I'm not gonna be angry at the person. I'm just gonna be like, you idiot. Like, so it's hard. It's a difficult business, because, like, and again, I'm not in it for business. I'm in it for fun, and I want to get out there, and I want to learn, and I want to just people to say, oh yeah, Trey, he does great stuff. Even if it's like, I've never even seen Trey sell a gecko. I just want to be, seen as an equal in the business. If I'm doing something, I always have to be top notch. But it's difficult to even think about getting rid of any, because shit, maybe that would have been the one that popped. And we have a mutual friend, Ilko, and it's like him. Like, you've seen his satins.
Yep.
Luck, like pure. He shows me the ones that they came from, and it's like, not even a lot of people would have bred the 2 that he had. I personally love that type of wild type with that the lavender and the vanilla, but he just popped and then kept popping. Like,
exactly, yeah.
And trust me, he's earned it. He's been doing it 25 years.
Yeah,
the things he tells me, I'm just in shock. But it's God bless him. I'm glad it happened to the right person. I'm glad it didn't happen to me. I've only been doing this 8 months. That wouldn't be fair. So I'm glad it happened to somebody like him. And when people start paying attention and realizing what he's got, and I keep telling him this, like,
oh yeah,
it's gonna blow.
Yeah, I've been pestering him for a good 30 days non-stop now, 60 days, just messaging him, going, just getting those sneaky messages in, like, oh, is that one for me then? Like, I'm
yeah. No, the same shit I do to other people. Him though, like, if he's smart, and it's no offense to you, because I'm sure he'll hold as many as he can until he's got just a shitload, and he could. I told him I think he could make easily $8,000 a gecko. Like, there's none. There's going to be people that are going to want this all over the world, and that's what he's been. He wants his name to be like Trumper. This is the way to do it.
Yeah, I believe they can go for whatever he initially sets the price to. I reckon they will sell. The leopard gecko world isn't like the crescent gecko. Well, I say world market isn't like the crescent gecko market. Those not everyone has that sort of money to be spending apart from the bigger businesses.
Oh yeah.
It would be
But you look
nice.
at like Cyphers, like
Yeah.
Cyphers aren't bad. They're cool looking, but $4,000, like I'd rather go buy a Black Knight.
Yeah.
But you can do it. There's people out there that are going to do it because it's different, because it's new, because
Cypher's obviously it's genetics. So the thing you've always got to think of is Cypher might not look all that good in its normal base form.
No, don't get me wrong. No, everybody out there, I'm not saying it doesn't look good. It looks cool.
I don't think it does. To be honest with you, when I look at a Cypher, I don't think, wow. I don't think anything special of it. But to know that it's a new gene, and that gene, you don't understand how that will work with other genes. So when you start mixing and matching, you can make some amazing stuff. Like when you added the Eclipse to Super Snow, for instance. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just, you just don't know. So with the Cypher, I think it's well worth the money, 100%, because you just don't know how that's going to play about.
Yeah. And again, I'm not saying it's not worth the money. I'm saying like it's there. There's a market for a Cypher gecko. And if people don't know what we're talking about when we talk about Satin, Ico has a gecko that's I don't want to say scaleless, but it's very smooth and there's not a whole lot of bumps on it. Yeah. So it's beautiful. And you can see it on we're in the exclusive leopard gecko group. I think it was started by Ron Tremper. Mm-hmm. Or at least somebody portraying to be Ron Tremper. You never know nowadays. But they're gorgeous. They're different, I should say. And different cells, it's people like something that's not like the norm, and especially in leopard geckos, it's a big business. It's a huge business. It's not snake money. I've seen snakes go 20 grand, but I've seen snakes go 90 grand. But it's big business, and it should be. Talking about fairy and black knights and that. So I got this slide that says the legend of the holdback. Fairy sent you one, blah, 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 blah. Tell me exactly what happened with that.
So I was in America at the time, and I invested in bear in mind, I'm only about 16, maybe 17. Obviously, and I'm working.
And you were in America.
I was in America. Yeah, I was in the USA, in Florida at the time.
Oh, I didn't know that.
On vacation, I always go to vacation there. Absolutely love it.
What part?
Blue Clearwater. Is it Clearwater? Clearwater? Clearwater, yeah.
Oh, Clearwater, yeah. That's where Darren, where I get my a lot of my Supergiants. He lives in Clearwater. It's about 8 hours from me. I had to drive down there.
Absolutely love it.
Yeah, it's gorgeous.
One of my favorite locations in the world. Just go fishing all day, every day. Go there fishing. Absolutely love it. So I was in America, and I'd been in contact with Ferry a few years beforehand, but never had that money. And at the time, I had enough just for my first one. I've been saving for a good year or whatnot, and I just went for it. It was a female, and that female was probably what I'd say is one of the best I've seen on Black Knights anyway. She had no pattern since birth, and she's never ever lightened up in any way, shape or form. So a really good one. I called it a patternless. There's no pattern underneath that black. But then I thought to myself, what if I just go all out and get a male? And I was speaking to Ferry, and Ferry said, well, obviously it'll be better to send both of them at the same time. I didn't have that money. I went to him, all right, how about this? I'll drop you a deposit for the male, you send him, and then I'll pay you once I have the money. And to my surprise, he was like, yeah, okay.
I laugh at that, but it's a lot of the really good breeders, and I've dealt with this, like Darren in Florida and all that. Like, they're not that like when I drove all the way down there, I was planning on only getting one.
Yeah.
And then he showed me the two females, and I was like, yeah, I'm going to need two females. And I was like, but I don't have that money right now. And he was like, well, look, give me what you got. Take them with you now so I don't have to ship them and then just send them back afterwards. So, and they're not going to do that for everybody. But if you put in the effort and you put in the conversation and you do that, they want them to go to the people that are going to do the best with them.
Exactly. Yeah, that's my point. Yeah, he won't do that with many people at all. I think the way me and Ferry have spoke and come across, and the fact that I'd already brought one, he knew I was serious. I think that has a lot of factors have a play in that. But he sent me that. So he sent me the two anyway. And what happened was obviously I paid the very top price for the mail when it arrived and that. But the mail started to lighten up really bad, and I just said, his words to me were, "Doesn't matter if you want, you send it back, and we'll exchange it." And I said, "Brilliant, all right." At the time, he was like, "Well, I've only got this one mail, and he's basically on hold. But if they don't take it, you can have him." I went, "All right, that's fine." A month went past. He went, "Unfortunately, they took that mail. So what I'll do is I'll give you my holdback mail." I was like, "Brilliant."
Now, out of everything, as nice as most breeders are, here you can have my holdback mail. Maybe that's probably been said once in a lifetime.
Yeah.
Especially, I mean, that's why, I questioned his sanity. Like, you did all this work, and he did it the right way. And again, I talked about this in my Black Knight video. He didn't just release the first highly melanistic one he did. He held it and he waited and he went to the ham show and boom, here's a black one. Like, you went through all of that, and then you take one of your absolutely best and was like, well, I feel bad for this kid. this 20-year-old kid. You were like, well, I was 16.
Yeah, I was very young, yeah.
And as you can see in my screen, that led to 4 million followers, which is an exaggeration, but it's not that far off. Like, it's but it's amazing. And again, I mean, I'm sure from all the people I've ever met from Holland, they're like, nah.
Ferry's personality, he is such a guy. I can't doubt him. What an amazing man. So patient. So, like, I don't know. If I wanted to be anyone in the hobby, I would want to be more like him, because he is just a guy, honestly.
Yeah. Well, I think I don't know if I pissed him off or what. I messaged him at one point, and I asked him. He said, "Yeah, I think I might have a couple this year. Talk to the shipping, and get the price and all that." And I was like, "Okay, no problem." And I did, and it was like $160. And I went back and said, "Yeah, talk to the shipping. I'm good. Hey, by the way, how much is it going to be so that I have it set aside?" And he never responded. I think I pissed him off by asking him how much. Like,
I would say to you now, that wouldn't have annoyed him or anything at all. I think Ferry gets a lot of business. Obviously, he's the creator of the morph, so he sells them like hot cakes. I don't think he even cares about the money. It goes back to the same point. I had a few drinks the other month and thought, he posted one, and I went, you know what? I actually need one for my outcrosses that I've done now, so they don't go back to the original blood they're from.
Right.
Bear in mind, all Black Knights are related. I thought, all right, I'm going to grab one. And then he was like, do you know what, Jay? I've got one I think you'd like better here. He showed me that one. Obviously, I had a few drinks. I was like, you know what? I'll take both of them. He was like, brilliant. He held those geckos. Obviously, this is because of COVID and Brexit. Shipping was very, very hard. Mm-hmm. He must have held those geckos for 4 months, all right? All I said to him was, I'll take them, all right? He must have held them for 4 months without asking for payment, not a word. And then I popped up to him, and he was like, oh, by the way, I've still got these 2 geckos here for you. I was like, oh, God, obviously I'd had a few drinks that night. I totally forgot. Not asking me at all for payment. I went, all right, brilliant. What I'll do, Ferry, is I'll get that sorted, and I'll pay you the day before they leave you, or the day they leave you. He's like, yeah, no problem, mate.
That's awesome.
Yeah, brilliant.
And, I mean, some people are made for this. Some people are made to not care, and that's the best attitude to have, because if you care too much, I mean, you should care a lot, but if you care too much, it will make you miserable. It will make you hate doing what you're doing, and you'll become bitter. And I borderline on that. I get to where I care a lot, and I get so intense on it. But I have to remind myself to step back and not take it as serious, not take it as like, because you can get your feelings hurt if somebody says something.
Yeah.
And I've had that happen with, between us by accident. Somebody says anything, especially when I'm in a group, everybody from Europe. And every time I post something, it's like, oh, that's beautiful. And then Dave comes on and Dave's like, it's like bombs and bells ringing. And then, but it's, there's time difference. There's this, blah, 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 blah. It's, I mean, if you get too serious and too wrapped up in it, you're going to get your feelings hurt. And, and I'm trying to teach, it's lessons that I'm trying to learn outside of just the basic genetics and the, blah, 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 is how to be in this hobby. That's something that a lot of people need to learn, is how to be in the hobby. And included in that is, don't be pissed off when somebody beats you to this. Don't be pissed off that somebody's working on this. Don't be pissed off when somebody doesn't like exactly what you're doing. Because I'm the same way. I don't like what everybody else is doing, but I don't mean that I don't know that there's people out there that like that, like clowns. And I've said this a million times, and I'm not a clown fan. I'm not, I should say. I think they look cool, but I'm not going to go. I don't feel the need to work. I don't all of a sudden go, oh my God, I got to have that, which I have that for a lot of different morphs. But that don't mean that I don't think anybody else should love that or make that. That's great. It's awesome. It's a good project. Do it. But if you don't have that mentality, you're very quickly going to get shunned in a corner and not participate as well as you should.
What I will say on that is, in this hobby, unfortunately, there's a very toxic side. Even when I started, I was bashed about by nearly all the big UK breeders. A few names, I won't mention any, but I was told I'm going to fail. No one was nice to me at all. It was only until I kind of started making a name, started doing things, they kind of just left me alone. But even now, I had a friend who didn't know how to do anything, basically. And I taught him. I spent a year teaching him a lot of things. He's another breeder, and it turns out he doesn't like me because I always have to get the best of the best. And unfortunately, it's in the hobby, like you say, I'm not going to go out and buy a worse off tang or something because it pleases someone else. I'm going to buy the animals I want. It's as simple as that. I'm not here to please you or them. I'm doing my own thing. It shouldn't annoy you. It shouldn't annoy you at all. If anything, you're another hobbyist. You should be supportive.
Yeah, it's hard. It's and you see that a lot on like Instagram, because it's like the same 10 breeders are sharing each other's stuff because they're all doing the same thing, and they don't share other people's, and it's you can tell it's just it's out of spite. But hey, karma's real. It'll happen. I mean, look at you. We'll go into this next slide, and because of the way you're an internet king. Eco Geckos has 49,000 followers on Instagram. Don't mind the little, I forgot to erase something on the chart, but it's close to 8 years experience in this. If you look at Ferry, who started the line, he only has 8,000 likes and 8,000 followers on Facebook. And you've almost topped that because you're at 6,500 likes and 7,153 followers on Facebook. And he doesn't even have an Instagram. So you're crushing it. I mean, I, like a lot of people, stole a bunch of your pictures today to put on this. And that black gecko is actually one of your black geckos. It just looks extremely black because it's on a white background. But, and you've been dealing with that a lot. People steal your pictures. Talk about a little bit about the frustration and anger, and try to enlighten some people on what to look for when they're going to get scammed, because this is one of the biggest ones that people get scammed with all the time. So
just a quick one. That pure black knight you see there isn't a pure black knight. It's
right.
The snow I popped from the two pures. So technically it is a pure, but that's that snow I popped. So Yeah, I'm just looking at it now. It looks. I thought it was a sticker thing you put on.
Yeah, no, I took the background away from it, and it's that damn black. So
yeah. Scamming. I get targeted every week, so I can talk so much about this. So it seems to be one group or one person, and what they will do is they will join all the Facebook sites, the groups, the big groups, and they'll have a random profile which looks real. They have like things you've got to look out for is when the profile is made, if it's got any friends, likes and comments on the photos. So what they do is they join these groups and they will post comments on everyone's post, or they go down to older posts and post comments, and it's something along the lines of available geckos or something along those lines. And then they make a fake page. It could be any gecko name. I've had my whole page copied down to the name, reviews, photos, everything. And once they get the page up, they'll target all of us reptile people. So even if I put watermarks on my photos, they will either cover them up or they'll tell people they work for me.
Right.
They make fake. This is another thing that's been recent. They make fake profiles and then message me as a customer, and they want to know everything about shipping, my location, my prices. And obviously, this is only the information they're going to use to scam people with. So when they go, when the person who's being scammed goes, all right, where are you located? They're going to use my location. They're going to use how I ship, and they're going to use my prices to make it look real. I can't tell from when I get a message if that person is a real customer or a fake person. So I'm stuck there and then anyway.
And then what I've heard you say is people are messaging you saying, hey, I gave so-and-so this amount of money and they said you were going to give me a gecko.
Yeah. So thankfully people kind of understand it's nothing to do with me whatsoever. So they, I've had people pop up and go, I've just lost $2,000 on photos I thought was theirs, but they're yours. And I go, so sorry. I always post awareness on my stories when I find a fake profile. There's nothing I can do. They take out my watermarks. There's nothing I can actually do whatsoever.
You could give them a gecko.
Recently,
just a normal that you have sitting in a box.
Recently, on Instagram, there's been an account which had messaged me before. So this is how I knew it's the scammers doing this. So they messaged me asking about all my prices and whatnot. And then a month later, that same account turned into a Gecko selling account, and they had 13,000 followers. So what they've done is they botted followers, they buy them. And how you can tell if you've brought any followers is Instagram works on an algorithm where when you post a photo, it shows a percentage of your followers. And if enough of that percentage likes that post, Instagram will show the next percentage. And I think it goes up to like 3 or 4 stages. And then if you smash that, it then starts going on the home page, the explore page, and higher up on the hashtags. It's called the ladder. I call it a ladder. You've got to climb the ladder. You've got to get the reach. So a fake profile with botted followers, those followers are all bots. So they don't interact with your content. So as soon as you post, you're going to reach 10 people, 20 people. Look for comments, look for likes. They've got 13,000 followers and they're getting 10 likes. You know what I mean? It's a little bit.
That's not right.
Yeah.
The biggest thing that the advice I give or that I would give is, and I had to deal with this with Morph Market. Mm-hmm. And because I saw what was obviously a fake ad for a Black Knight, because it was a male. It was pitch black.
Yep.
And they wanted like $1,100. So I immediately, and I messaged them, and they're like, well, we looked at this and they do have a Facebook page. How do you know? Because I look every day for 3 hours on Morph Market on the internet. Yeah. If there is somebody out there with a Black Knight that looks like this, everybody knows that.
Yeah.
So the best thing I can say is, if you see one and it's too good to be true, it is too good to be true.
Exactly.
And two, you can go to somebody. You get kind of busy, but you'll still answer.
Yeah.
Most of the time, 99% of the time. But you can ask a really good breeder or somebody who said, and say, hey, do you know this person? Have you ever dealt with this? And 9 times out of 10, they'll say, and I had that with my female.
Mm-hmm.
My female is like yours. She's about a year. She's pitch black. She has 0 pattern. I'm so lucky I got her. And I saw the ad on Morph Market. She was up for $1,700. And I'm like, man, it doesn't seem right. So I messaged the person and they're like, they're telling me this stuff, and they dropped Jeff's, thank God, they dropped Jeff's name. So I went to Jeff Galewood and I said, hey, do you know this person? And he's like, oh yeah, I do. I deal with him with hognose a lot. He got really lucky, and I forget her name or last name. I think it's Burgess, had a bunch of directly from Ferry, and she got out of it and she doesn't want to do it anymore. So she sold a couple to him. And so it was kind of too good to be true, but still worked out because I did the research and I looked into it. So I got very lucky. But you can, there's never stop on what somebody just says. Ask people. Anytime you buy, and this is not just Black Knights, anytime you buy a gecko, do research on that person. I try telling people, because they'll message me and they're like, because a lot of the Tang crosses, even though they're pure genetics, 100% Raptor, I'm selling them, I have them up for relatively cheap because I've got the holdback that I need for next year. And people are like, oh, $90. That's way too much. And I'm like, yes, but you can go spend $60 from some random person or the pet store. And if you're a good person, you're going to end up spending $1,000 or some dollars you could on the bad genetics that end up coming out and making that a sickly gecko, or one that has health issues or blah, blah, blah. Because you're going to, and plus it might not be the quality that you're looking for. This is something that lives for 20 years.
Exactly.
Spend a little bit of money and get the one you're going to love for 20 years. Not one that after it looks cool as a baby, but as an adult, it's going to look kind of funky. And you're going to be like, man, you're stuck with that gecko. And you should, if you're a decent person, you're going to be stuck with that gecko and you're going to take good care of it. But it's, you have to spend the money and talk to the people, and you're never going to get anything cheap. It's just anything cheap's not, it's usually not worth it. There's usually a reason why. So when it comes to buying a Black Knight gecko, you ask the top people and you'll find the right people.
Yeah, I agree. If you're wanting a Black Knight and someone's got one up for sale for £200, $300, it's not real.
Yeah, it's not. Especially if their picture's a white American, but their name is obviously not. They're probably not real.
Yes, so. And that's it goes back to it's very easy for me now to spot a fake account, but they are getting smarter. They are literally
and brash too. I messaged one, and again, when I started, I was more ignorant to this, and I'm like, oh man, that's great. That's awesome price, $600. That's awesome. And they're talking to me, and then I kind of started doing my research. I got smart, and I realized they were fake. And I messaged them like, hey, I'm reporting you. You're fake. And they're like, go ahead. This page will be up for years. There's nothing you'll do about it.
Oh yeah, they're very cocky. They will say, yeah, do what you want. We'll just make a new one next week.
Yeah, it's tough. And we deal with a lot of that here in South Carolina because there's a lot of elderly people. So your phone will ring constantly with people trying to prey on that.
Yeah.
Saying your Social Security's bad, blah, 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 blah. It's awful that people, they just see that they can make easy money at other people's expense. But again, karma, hopefully, will eventually get into that. So, all right. So the next question I got for you is kind of on the line. You're being internet famous. You see a lot of different things. What differences do you see first between UK breeders and other European breeders? And then we'll say between Europe and America. But first, just UK and dealing with the rest of people in Europe.
I think the UK breeders, there's two sides to the UK breeders. There's a amazing side where you can get a lot of support and there's group chats, as you know.
Mm-hmm.
There's also a lot of not fights, but hot how can I explain it? There's a lot of toxic behavior going on at the moment. I can see it when there's like groups of things going on, and I personally can't stand any of that, and I try and keep away from it all. But also, I'm friends with everyone. I try and be anyway. So even though if they're arguing with each other, and I post a story on one group, it's then going to annoy the other, too. And it's kind of tick and tack at the moment. But they're all amazing breeders, very supportive, and I think a lot of them have a lot of potential with all their geckos, and they're loving what they're doing, and that's the main thing. The passion from some of them is unreal. Do you know what I mean? And it's lovely to see. It brings the UK up a bit more. Like, it's like, yes, there's more of us, but we're getting into it, and
it is. It's so sad. It's like, it goes back to what I say, because if you get too involved, you get too passionate, you start taking offense to things that probably shouldn't be taken offense to. But it's also the time and the culture we live in right now, where everybody wants to be extremely sensitive about everything.
Yeah.
The place for that. You should not bully people. You should not put people down for the things they feel and think. And you should protect people that can't protect themselves. That's a golden rule that's been around for ages. But you should not dog people and ruin their life because they don't have the same opinion you do.
Yeah.
Now there's various, but in other things in life, it's a gray area for that. But when it comes to the hobby, like, as long as somebody's not jeopardizing, somebody's life or the gecko's life, like, grossly, I mean, you're going to have differences of opinion, and there's going to be statistics, or there's going to be facts that show that one way is not always the best way. And you got to get out of the mentality of, well, if I beat it into your head, you're eventually going to say that I'm right, because that shit's never going to work. That's, it's, and that happens, and it's hard to try to keep it out of this culture. I saw there was a huge movement in our industry about a month or so ago where they were talking about misogyny and how putting down that women couldn't breed reptiles, and not that I didn't put stock in it, but that's just, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous to think that a woman can't raise something as good as a man. That's just, I mean, if you can raise a child, you can raise a lizard. Like, that's dumb. If there's men out there who think that, you're an idiot. You're
100%. There was a post or a video, like, I'm not sure what it was, about women with posting pictures of reptiles. It was like one slide of a reptile and the woman fully clothed, and it got no likes. And then in the next slide, it goes, "Let's get my breasts out to get more likes." And I thought, that is just so bloody stupid. I didn't even comment on it, but the backlash that came from it was so deserved. I was sitting there, and all the women were posting the photos and going, big massive F you to the guy, and I was just like, fair enough, yes, well done. I was laughed. I was like, that's brilliant.
The biggest thing about me is I'm very good at being, I don't want to say the wrong word, but being able to see both sides of a story. And so, yes, it's bullshit if a man thinks that a woman can't take care of something. But on the flip side, it's not always the men's fault for that. Instagram knows what audience they're playing to. So I go through my Instagram, and I have never on my Instagram looked at anything except for reptiles and Jeeps.
Mm-hmm.
But when I get to reels, there is not a reel on there about reptiles and Jeeps. It's about a young lady dancing and showing herself, and has 1 million views and likes. So it's an algorithm that Instagram is perpetrating, because they know what they're trying to throw out there, and that there are people out there that abuse that and give a very bad name to the women that are doing their job. Now, I'm not saying that a woman should not be able to dress however she wants to sell her, and while she's on her social media. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying it also needs to be recognized there is a group that take wholehearted advantage of this, and it gives that bad luck, and it makes that algorithm go nuts, and it makes, blah, blah, blah. Again, I'm not taking away from that whole movement because I 100% agree. It's bullshit that a woman, has to hide that she's a woman or, dress a certain way to get that. I don't think those women over here that give it a bet should have to do what they're doing to get Instagram likes and views. So, it's a slippery slope that no matter what side you're on, it's gonna,
for sure.
Yeah, it's so we got kind of off subject, but so yes, I see that just from watching and what people I do know, and I'm so lucky that George and you allowed me to be in that group because I get to see, for one, beautiful geckos that Europe's doing, and me and Jeff have talked about this. It's because when if you're going to get geckos from America or get things brought in, it's a lot of trouble and it costs a lot of money. So you're going to spend the best money. So y'all have amazing geckos. David DC he has beautiful copper trimpers, and I look at his website and things are gorgeous. Chloe has gorgeous geckos. Charlene at KLG is gorgeous. Everybody I see, they all have beautiful geckos. Y'all really do it correct. And it's sad to see when the little ticky-tack stuff is interrupting that, because you're all good people at heart. I mean,
yeah, I agree. Yeah, I think jealousy is the biggest issue in the whole hobby. That's everyone. Jealousy really can do some damage. I tell you that. Since I started, I've had a lot of that.
When you got 49,000 followers, you're going to get, jealousy, and I feel it. Everybody's going to. You're human. When I message you, you're like, "Oh, mate, sorry. I'm getting 1,000. Oh, it's driving me crazy. 1,000. F you. I would like to get 6. Let me get 7." But it's you have to again not take yourself so serious. You need to not think that there's not going to be other people that are doing amazing things. It's
100%. Yeah.
If you're hell bent on being this your sole income, it's going to make you miserable like that. You have to play the long game and not the short game.
Yeah, exactly. And it goes back to me. Like, obviously, I'm 22 years old, and going back to like saying about geckos, I think me personally, I'd love to do geckos full time. I would love to make it a business. I took the first steps recently, and I brought the Live Food Hub, which supplies live food to UK residents. I'm waiting. Obviously, that's going to also be a shop now, so it's going to be a full-blown shop online. So I'll be obviously selling products and whatnot. So that's the first step. Obviously, being this young and having so much progress, a lot of people they kind of brush me off the shoulder. You know what I mean? You're too young. You know nothing. I think that's a quite a naive way to think. I don't agree with that. I think if you're going to do something, do it your best, give it your best shot, take the risks 100%.
There's a fair trade on that, though. Your generation does feel like the older people don't know anything. So I see that a lot. Not from you, but I do see like a lot of these younger breeders are like, "Oh, hey, boomer." Like, nah. So what do you see the biggest difference between Europe and America?
I think Europe have absolutely amazing geckos. Obviously, the Black Knight come from Europe. Malt's got some of that. I think it's a hard one because also you've got people like Gecko Boa, Steve.
And he's relatively young too. To look at his pictures. From Idaho, and I'm talking about Gecko Boa, the first one, John Scarborough.
Yeah.
You look at his picture now; they might be old pictures. I don't know, but he looks like a relatively young guy.
Yeah. Yep. So what I'd say is, I think Europe's got so much potential. I think most of my imports come from Europe alone. So I'm not saying they got better geckos, but they have got some amazing stuff. USA, they also got really nice stuff. I import from Steve, the Supergiants. I need another couple from Steve myself. Obviously, you're working with the Supergiants, aren't you? You was talking about the Supergiant Super Snows. I'm watching that project like a hawk, mate, because
you're gonna see, because like the size that I'm getting on all, and I've been taking all my notes. Like my female, she's gaining 10 grams a month. She's already up to 40, and she just hit 4 months.
Oh.
And same thing with my male. I've got the Eclipse Snow, and he's just at 3 months. He's at 36 grams. I've got that Trimper, the first Trimper that I got. He's already at almost 50 grams and just hit 4 months yesterday. I've got a surprise for you. I'll talk to you about later, but I'm really happy with where Supergiants are. Odin, of course, he's still chugging along. He's about 112, 113 just at 12 months. So he's and it's the reason I love Supergiants is if you get the right ones, they're just built so different. You talk about like I like them because leopard geckos, they remind me of an alligator, especially Supergiants. Like when he's walking and he's like, I mean, it's nothing better.
Yeah.
But so okay. And then, I think also though, I think America has just so many. And the best thing about this past year, I think we jumped a little easier, is we haven't, COVID hit us, but we got less lockdown. It's still, they're trying to say, oh yeah, but I mean, I've been going to shows since January as a not as a vendor, but as just as a patron. Yeah. But and I've had 50 geckos shipped to me, so it's not like it's cheaper. It's like $40 to get geckos to us, and if you look, you can again, I went for top tier, but you can find a lot of breeders that are top tier. They're just they're not, haven't been doing it as long, and that's the biggest thing. I think we have an easier time of it than y'all do. I think y'all have, it's a lot harder for you, and you're talking to people like y'all are trying to work on just getting a bunch of geckos together at the show and shipping them all together to get to the United States. And and there's one guy in the WhatsApp group. He's in England, I believe, or in Europe, somewhere in Europe. I can't remember exactly, but he actually works part of his time here in South Carolina where I live. So I've been talking to him, kind of being able to be the go-between for a lot of people, where he can, come and bring them and do what he's got to do, and then I can help distribute them out for everybody. So it's tough, and I'm going to find out. I'm going to Europe for the first time next week, so I'll see a little bit of how crazy it's been. I deal with a lot of people internationally, and I hear the stories, and I'm like, man, people here forget how good we have it when it comes to stuff like that.
Yeah, so. At the moment with shipping, you'd find it so much harder than you can imagine, especially if it's anything to do with UK, because now we need we got Brexit and COVID. Shipping wise, you need documents. You're paying import tax. It is a real ball ache, I'd say.
Tell me, like I'm vaccinated, and
so am I.
Even though I did, and I've caught shit from people that aren't, blah blah blah. When I get to France, for me to go from Paris to I can't remember where else we're going. We got to go to another part to the west coast of France.
Yep.
I still have to get tested.
Yeah.
And I still have to have a document. And then they wanted me to get an app that enables my Bluetooth to tell them if I'm within 6 feet of somebody who's got it. So basically they can lock me up if I've been within 6 feet of it's just nuts. It's crazy.
It is crazy. Crazy time. 100%. It
is. It's, and it's the sad thing is, I don't even want to talk about it because I don't want to downplay anything, but it's just it's all crazy. It's nuts.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. So we'll keep moving on. So the next part is what is your favorite part of breeding?
Oh,
And again, I have some pictures here. In my opinion, my favorite, this bottom left one, is one of my favorite geckos I've ever seen. That's a super snow, right?
Super Snow Eclipse Black Knight. Yeah,
It's unbelievable. It's
really
my
nice.
favorite gecko of all time.
That's the obviously with the Black Knights. That's the direction I'm heading towards. I think I have at least a 2 to 10 group, maybe more, just on the snow BN snows itself. I've also seen without the eclipse. Have you seen a super snow without the eclipse of Black Knight? It can almost give it a blue look. It is absolutely amazing. But yeah, favorite part of breeding is it's got to be hatching. It's got to be hatching the gecko, hitting the one you want, even if it's genetics or line breeding. So I recently imported the Exantics from Altitude Exotics. That was a very, very bold step for me to do because I hadn't really had a lot of experience with the crested geckos, but I imported the Exantics and I got a 25% chance to actually hatch an Exantic. The day that I do hatch an Exantic, I'm going to be running around the house
naked.
Yeah. I was going to say that. I thought I best not.
No, this is somewhat a PG-13.
Yeah.
No, yeah, I mean that's like, and again, I'll go back to Ilko. If I was him, the day he hatched that one, I'd have shit myself. Like, you're right. Hatching is the best, and I'm so angry, and I'll be gone next week. But the main egg I've been waiting for was my lavender female to my other lavender snow female or male. Sorry, I had been waiting, and I finally got them to hook up because she was just so did not want any part of it.
Yeah.
That first egg that she gave me is set to hatch. It's 31 days today. So I won't be here. And I'm scared to death because my wife has not experienced any of that yet. So I'm so angry. I'm going to miss the first one. But yeah, but like my Supergiants I've had come so far this year, like it's absolutely the best part because it's like, for one, because you're kind of doubtful. What if this isn't what I was? Yeah. Like, what if these don't come out albino? What if everybody's right? Like these bell albinos don't have just bell in them. And luckily, out of the 5 I've had, all of them are. And I knew that was going to happen, but you have it in the back of your head,
Yeah. 100%,
Well,
100%. Also, I enjoy the start of the season. It's the favorite part is probably hatching, but I also love watching them develop. Going from baby to adult, you'll see a crazy change in colours and pattern, and it's just that's why I don't sell my babies when straight away. I always keep all of them back until I can see the full potential, and then I go, all right, what I'm going to keep, I'm going to let go, because from a baby to sub-adult, it's just the transformation can be amazing, or it can be not too good, but it's so worth the watch.
Yeah, like I try to tell people, don't buy a gecko from the baby picture.
Yeah,
because it's not going to look like that. It's not.
Yeah.
And I go back to clowns, and again, I'm not bashing clowns. As a baby, clowns look phenomenal. They look so cool with that gray, with the jungle tangerine stripe. But that's going to change. Like when they get older, they're going to be emery, and it's going to be a faded greenish color. And again, not that they look bad, they still look cool.
Yeah.
But don't buy it thinking that it's going to be gray and orange. It's not going to be gray and orange. It's going to be orange and yellow or orange.
I get the same. I get a lot of responses on the Matte Snow Black Knights. Obviously, it looks like as a baby, it's a white and black gecko. Really, really clean white and strong black. And everyone's going, "Oh my god, I want one." They're asking me, "Oh, can I buy it?" And I'm back of my mind. I always say in the message, it's not going to look like that by adult. That white will totally fade and it will yellow out.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I don't really want it now. I was like, you know what I mean? it's that's why I don't post the babies for sale. That's why I do wait until the colours start popping, and then I can go, all right, I can sell that, and I know the customer will be satisfied.
Yeah, it's difficult. Black Knight, Supergiants, they're two of the most difficult to do because
Oh yeah,
you never know, and you have to put the disclaimer. Like on my webpage and on my site, there's a disclaimer there, and because it's going to change, and
yeah.
the Black Knight is going to get lighter at times. It's going to get darker at times. There's variations of that. It could go completely light and stay completely light. It could go lighter and then come back to dark. It could stay completely dark the whole time. Supergiants, there's no guarantee. The only thing I can guarantee is the parents that I put together were in all sense genetically or big, or at least they're Supergiants. That's all I can tell you. Is the baby going to be? And look at the parents. If the parents are huge, there's a good chance they'll be huge, but there's no guarantee to that. All I can guarantee you is Odin's a giant gecko. The mom is, she's close to 90 grams, but she is huge. I mean, so there's going to be varying degrees of that. And then also they're going to grow at different rates. They're not all going to sprout and do 10 grams a month. They might hold off and then spurt and grow a bunch. You can't just sit there and look at it in the first 6 months. Really, you shouldn't buy a Supergiant until it's 2 years old if you're just going on size, because you won't know the full potential till then. But you can pretty much gauge. You can see, like you can tell from the tail and from the length and from what's going on with the growth at a point. Oh yeah, this is definitely the way it should be. But do your due diligence. Everybody out there nowadays wants to label something a Black Knight. They want to label something a Supergiant, possible giant, possible that. Go to somebody who can tell you, I know the parents are Supergiants. I know that the father is this, and then that person had better tell you what I just said about the claim for that. Because if they don't, because to say that could kill a sale easily. You could say that and somebody go, oh, well, I'm not going to spend that money then.
Exactly.
That's fine. If somebody doesn't say that to you, somebody goes, oh, yeah, this one's going to be huge no matter what. Don't worry about it. Or it's going to be black. Oh, yeah, look at it. It's pitch black. Don't buy it because they're just trying to get your money.
Yeah, I agree with that. And that's when I see a lot of the times normal geckos are labelled Black Knight. And I understand it to an extent. Obviously, same with the crosses. They're labelled like Super Snow Black Knight, and I look at it and I go, there's no Black Knight inside that whatsoever. That's a Super Snow. But you also got to take into factor it has Black Knight lineage in it. And I said this to you with your Super Snow. Even though I wouldn't call that a Black Knight, I'm not trying to down on your project or anything. I also said to you that would be a perfect gecko for the crosses, because even though it doesn't look Black Knight, it has the lineage in it. And from my experience, these lighter looking geckos with the Black Knight lineage within it can produce these really dark, nice geckos. The female I used this year, I don't label Black Knight. She does have Black Knight in her. I say her lineage is from Black Knight, I think from Europe. And I've made some absolutely stunning babies. Pure black.
Now, to defend my gecko, that bitch is black. She's black. She's dark, much darker than a regular Super Snow. So,
okay,
I understand what you're saying 100%. And I 100% agree with it, because it's a line bred trait.
Exactly.
You can't. You can't. You can say it's higher melanistic, but I mean, of course, if it's not this one in the bottom left hand, it's not going to jump out to you immediately that it's Black Knight. But it's true, and I've dealt with, you saw with the emails I was dealing, I was actually considering buying one from this guy, and you're reading his verbiage and he's like, Het Black Knight, and the father is pure Black Knight, and the mother is a Super Snow, and I made a Super Snow. And I'm not that guy that likes to correct people whatsoever. I was seriously inquiring because I'm like, hey, did you really mean to? Is this what you meant to say? Because oh no, the dad was pure Black Knight, and I was like, look, well, you need to go back to whoever sold it to you and be really pissed off because that's not physically possible.
Mm-hmm. I remember
and I never got a response, but you never know when somebody's trying to scam you. That's why I kind of like probe, and then I'm like, is this guy just trying to make money off of people? And if so, you're an asshole.
Yeah,
but there's also people that just might not know, which is why, again, I preach that even though I've only been doing it for a short amount of time, I researched enough to know a lot of these things, and you should do the same. Don't just start throwing your stuff up. That's why I get kind of mad when people do it to me, because they think that I don't know, and when I give them the answer, they're like, "Oh, okay, so you do know. Okay, never mind. You're labeling it right."
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's a difficult one because when you're doing what I do and you're implementing darkness onto these geckos, and then that is your reward, that's your work. But then someone comes along and goes, here's my Black Knight, and there's no darkness, there's nothing on there, and it's a normal. And I simply don't want to, like I said, I don't want to sound like a horrible person, but I go, where's the Black Knight in that? The mother was a Black Knight. I go, that's all right. So it's a cross. No, it's a Black Knight. I go, right. So if I had a tangerine and a normal, and I paired them together, and I got a normal, would I label that tangerine? I wouldn't. What's the difference with Black Knight kind of thing? And the difference
that's a little bit more difficult because it's, again, being line bred. Like if you're talking like snow, or you're talking something that's not line bred,
that's genetic.
But being line bred, like that normal is a tang now if it's orange, because
exactly. But it's not orange. This
a
gecko with no orange whatsoever. But you label it tang because the mother was a tang. It doesn't work for that. It just doesn't work. However, like I do say, there is a argument, because with the lineage inside, if you're pairing that back to a very nice Black Knight or whatnot, you have potential to make some very, very nice dark babies. So it's a tick for tack again on that. I'm going to start labeling all mine that aren't, obviously if they're coming from two pure Black Knights and they look normal, I will struggle to label that, because if they come from two pure Black Knights, which are let's say two solid black ones, and it pops out a normal, then where do you kind of sit with that? I personally would have to sell that as a normal, but make sure they know this is the parents. It is from Black Knight lineage, but it's a normal.
Yeah, and I mean, I've gotten into that about how, in all rights, those ones that come out that aren't pure black are still high melanistic and gorgeous. Like, they're completely different, in my opinion. They're not necessarily normal, I would say, because you can look at wild type normals and you can look at these and they're completely different. It's just the patterns are different. It's a different type of normal, and in its own right, still gorgeous. It's just, I guess you would just kind of comment on the not being fully melanistic. It's not, it's, I don't know. It's difficult, and I understand it being like, it's like your Van Gogh, and you're making your Van Gogh paintings, and somebody brings up a photocopy of a much worse one, and they're like, "Oh yeah, this is the same as your Van Gogh." No, it's not. But
no, so I know what you mean. So if these crosses or these babies are showing a darker side, or showing a trait of the Black Knight, so any blackness or any shades of dark, 100% call them crosses, call them Black Knights, whatever. But the ones I don't know if you've obviously for the past 3-4 years, we've seen 100% normal geckos being sold as Black Knights, and the price tag is 3 times higher than a normal gecko. And that's where That's what
okay. So where do you stand? So you've got your pure 100% Holland, black,
Yep.
solid black, and then you have another 100% pure Holland, and that baby comes out lighter, much lighter.
Yep.
You don't call that Black Knight at all.
So if it shows a Black Knight trait, yes. If it shows darkness, darker than a normal, if it shows any sort of black boldness, yes, I'm going to call that a Black Knight. I will call that a Black Knight. I will not call a 100% normal gecko showing no Black Knight traits a Black Knight. It's as simple as that.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you think that Black Knight would still give a black baby?
Yes, I believe it can do. Yes, I do. They don't have to be solid black to have solid black babies. Again, it's a hard one. So
I know. So that's what I'm saying. Like, it's difficult to say, oh, no, not. But it comes from 100%. Like, it's technically 100% that Holland line and has the potential for its baby to be super black.
Yeah. So,
but to say it's not,
if I was selling that gecko and they come from my geckos, I would let them know. So this is what I'm talking about. How did you ever see the charts that were made from the Europeans? They made a chart on Black Knights and they graded them A, B, C, D, and then the lighter ones, which didn't show Black Knights, weren't Black Knights. Even though they came from Black Knights, they believe we don't label these Black Knights. It's down to the trust of the breeder. And then there was a wave of breeders that were breeding, let's say, a Black Knight cross, which was, let's say, it showed minimum darkness, and they're bringing it to normals. And then they were labeling all those babies Black Knights. And then, obviously, what it was doing was it was for money, and they were bumping up the prices. And then these people, all these customers going, I've got a Black Knight. But reality, you've got 3 generations down, and it's a normal. Even, let's say its grandma was just an outcross of Black Knight. I see it a lot at the moment.
Yeah, but the scary thing is like, again, all right, so say that you're saying that gecko's not worth as much. You sell it for $150 and it starts producing $4,000 geckos.
But at the time of sale, that is not a £4,000 gecko or whatnot. That is not, at the time of sale, I'm going to price and label that on the quality I see. Now with Black Knights, I always say they have the potential lighten, darken. It can happen, but I always price at the time of sale. As long as it shows any form of darkness, then you have every right to label it a Black Knight or a Black Knight cross. I totally agree with that.
Yeah, it's a tough thing. It's a lot tougher than. It's probably the most tough thing to deal with out of all the morphs, other than the ones that are obviously genetically immoral to breed, like the Enigmas and the, it's a quandary. You're never going to get more than 3 people agreeing on the same thing whatsoever. Yeah. So
yeah, I 100% think it's a tit for tat. There's 2 views. My view changed recently. I do believe these are lighter geckos that if they do show a bit of blackness, 100% call them Black Knight, and these can produce dark geckos. So, yeah.
But there's a market for it because there's people out there that can't afford to spend that much money.
100%.
And they want something that they can have a piece of it. And it's if this gecko's $300 and it's from Black Knight parents, there's a market for it. There's a market for all of them. Like I said, in my opinion, if Furry had never hit 100% Black Knight, there would be still a huge market for these geckos in the chocolate area, in the much lighter, rusty, blah, blah, because they're gorgeous, still gorgeous. The 2 that I have are still beautiful.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. Yeah, I do agree.
All right, so let's keep going. What other than Black Knight, and I'll even say other than the Diablo Blanco, because we all know you like black and white, what is your favorite morph in leopard geckos that you not necessarily either work with or not work? And we've already talked about the Satin a little bit, but what would be your favorite other than that?
So I would say the Super Snows, the Super Snow Eclipses, and the So when I say the Super Snows, I do mean the Super Snow Eclipses and the Extreme Pied versions. They are absolutely stunning. Obviously, it's high white with the pied look. That's one. The other one is also certain tangerines. So I'm wanting to work with tangerines, but I'm wanting to work with a very certain line, or I've got a very precise goal with them. I want to darken the orange and hit red. That's what I want to do. I've seen a few geckos looking red, kind of.
Yeah.
And that's the direction I want to be going with that. But it's very far off at the moment, but it's there. I have the foundations for it.
That's funny. Me and you were very similar in a lot of things, and we were just like everybody. We're polar opposite on some. I do like, especially the idea of a panda. I like, the idea of a super. I love super snows. That was the first thing that drew me to these. Is I love the lavender. I love the steel gray of mixing, like in my opinion, my super snow that's crossed with black knight. I love her because her background is more of a dark gray, and her spots are very pronounced, high melanistic black spots. I love that. I also love that she's het eclipse, because I love that whole being covered from head to tail. Again, I like clips. I like it in other, but I also can enjoy it not being there too. I have other geckos that are just pure with no het for eclipse, and then I have the ones that are het. I love that. And I do love the idea of a pied gecko that's black and white. But I also draw the line of, I see people, and again, I'm not knocking anybody, but you get pied so much to where you have like this much of a spot and this much of a spot. And you're basically you're like, you got Blazing Blizzard and Diablo Blanco people that are looking at like,
yeah,
you basically just spent 10 years to make what we've been making. And we would say that that's not so there's an extent on the line. And, I think it's a lot of people just chasing to be the top in that. And again, I'm not knocking it for anybody who loves it. Me personally. And then on the orange one, like I'm dead on with you with that. Like I wanted, and from the beginning, I like red. Yeah. I like red and I like purple. I've wanted, when I bought my first two geckos, it was with the plan of orange, and I just got one. And I know you had problem with these. I just got another one from Tug, and it'll be coming in 2 weeks, and it's a tornado, and it's like 96% orange. Like the carrot tail is like almost solid, completely orange. But like you've experienced and like I've seen, can't guarantee that's going to look like that when it gets here. I mean, the full coverage is there. That's what I'm going for. And I'm hoping it's going to be as dark as it is. But like and like I know, that's not necessarily a guarantee.
Yeah.
But with that one, I went into it knowing it's a female. I'm going to that one for the full coverage of it. Like I said, it's almost like 95% orange, which is awesome. Because that's what I wanted. I'm like, why aren't people, everybody's stressing about black. Why aren't people trying to make a solid orange or a solid red or, I think that's just as cool. So that's kind of what I'm working on too. I need to find a male and that's what I'll put the emphasis on, the color and the dark and the red. But it's hard, people can manipulate pictures. People can.
Exactly.
But for the price of what I'm paying, this shit better look. It better be right. So
I always ask for a video. They can't. It's very much harder to manipulate a video than it is a photo. So
yeah, but it's still easy to steal one. That's why stealing your videos, it's not gonna help on that. Okay, so Eco Gecko. You touched on it a little bit with the shop and everything. Where are you headed? And so that we can elaborate on the storefront and the, what you're doing with it. Where are you headed with that?
So, truthfully, I'm struggling. As you know, I'm always at work, and then I come home, and I'm always dealing with the gecko stuff. Yeah. And it comes to a point where you go, how much time it's coming to a point where you go, is it a hobby now? Or is it a business kind of work? Because any spare time I got goes to Eco Geckos. It goes to, if it's not just answering messages, comments, keeping up with social media, or doing gecko stuff. I'm awake at 6 and I'm asleep whatever time I go to sleep. But throughout the whole day, I'm non-stop. There is not a minute I'm sat down relaxing. So we're obviously, as I'm growing on social media, it's getting harder and harder and harder. I'm waking up to it's like a traffic jam of messages, and then all these messages will turn into conversations with individual people, and then I've got another. By the time I've answered 10 or something, I've got another 5 that I've gained on there, and another 10 on Facebook, and it's constant. So I'm having to look at it all as a kind of, all right, if I'm going to make something out of this, I'm going to have to do it properly. I can't do it alone at the moment. And this is where the live food hub came into it. I thought, why don't I try my best to make a business out of this? Obviously, with the followers I get and the people I reach every month, I thought, why don't I try and sell a product or something reptile related, so I wouldn't have to go to work 12 hours a day and come home and then have to do this. I'll have all day to kind of, not all day, but most of the day to do Eco Geckos and then relax, because at the moment I'm 22 and it's just, the work rate is very unreal, and mentally on myself, the stress is enormous.
It's a lot for somebody your age. Like,
yeah,
I go through it now, but I'm 39. I've been doing it. I've been working nonstop since I was 18, and I haven't really gotten into that story. But it's at 22, you're supposed to be out at discotheques or whatever you call it, and at clubs, just taking pictures like I've seen on your Facebook, which I didn't add nearly as many as I stole of your profile pictures, but I didn't want you to think I was taking a piss. So it's like, you're not supposed to be having to deal with life situations at 22, but it's got to be tough.
But the thing is, I enjoy it. I enjoy being busy all the time. I enjoy the attention. I enjoy the message, because it's constantly, ticking over. It is nice, but it just goes down to the point is, when does this become not just a hobby? It's just a hobby. It is, because the time spent in that, it's just a question I ask myself. So like I said, I kind of want to try and go into the business side of things. However, when it comes to breeding geckos, that will still be a hobby and not a business for the moment.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
it's and again, doing this is, especially with everything going on, you got to make sure you secure a stable part of that business.
Yeah,
the food I think is very stable, because you're always going to need that food. That's the good part. You can see, like, there's a lot of people that have went that route and wanted to make it a profession, but markets go up and down, things happen, you never know. You just got to make sure you do it smart, and you keep a steady base and build your financials and your means around, okay, the minimum of what I can make, just staying steady on this, and make yourself indispensable. You got to make it. And the best thing about it is you got such a big following. I can't believe there's a damn person in Europe that wouldn't want a Jay cricket, or excuse me, locust. So that's great. It's amazing. You have an amazing thing to build on.
Yeah.
That's just make sure. And then one thing I'll say from an older person: make sure you're smart with your money. Don't go out one night drinking and spend it all. Keep saving, because you never know at some point what could happen.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. If you ask, you can tell I'm very good with saving my money anyway. Like I said, I've worked since I was 15 and whatnot. And being 22, you should be working continuously anyway. I totally agree. You should be working every day and whatnot. But recently, my back's been giving in, and the work I do, it's very demanding, it's all lifting and a very hard job. And I've been hospitalised and bed bound just a month ago over my back. And
yeah, I remember
talking. I can lift something and then my back goes again. And I'm self-employed, so if I'm out of work, I don't earn any money. And as you can tell, I'm 22, but I private rent my own house with my other half. If I don't work, we haven't got rent money. So with my back going, I kind of had to just make a business. That's what it was. I had to put my foot down and go, all right, do you know what? Let's start looking into gaining from the followers. It's not as, I don't want to sound like that, but when you're reaching that many people, I think I was reaching 5.5 million people a month, and that's all worldwide.
You have to jump on it while you're hot.
Yeah, well, why wouldn't you want to? I'm not looking to be a millionaire in anything, but
bullshit. That's the one thing I've heard you say that's a lie all day. Everybody wants to be a millionaire, and there's nothing wrong in wanting to be a millionaire in something you love, as long as you realize that now it's going to be even more of a job. Don't get to a point where you hate it.
Exactly.
But there's absolutely nothing wrong with wanting to be a billionaire at this. You're doing it all like you're supposed to. There's no shame in saying, "Hey, I want to take full advantage." If I could survive off of leopard geckos, I'd do it. And if I could be a millionaire doing it, I'd do it. It's you just have to keep doing what you're doing. And now that you're at a peak, capitalize on that. Yeah. Hope that there's another peak. Hope that there's something else that keeps moving you there. But while you're here, build your foundation of it, so that you can perpetuate and keep going.
It's the drive for me. It's the ambition and drive. It's wanting to make it work and actually working on it itself, which really excites me.
Oh yeah, no, it's good. Well, then that kind of moves into towards the end. Well, I didn't remember I had that slide for where we're going, but hey. Up is the only possible. That's it. You got to keep going, or if you don't change and adapt, you'll die. So that's the way it is. So, what advice do you have for the new people that are getting in, the Joes and the me's and the people that are walking into this saying, "Hey, where do I go?"
All right. There's so much you couldn't really say, but there's a few things. Person, a new person, new information. I would always stick with breeding what you want to breed, produce what you want to produce. That is the main. I always say that is the main thing. I tell everyone, even when you come up to me with a project, you go, I might do this. I go, well, is it something you want to do? And you go, oh yeah, the messages recently with the Supergiants and whatnot.
Well, when we talked about the blue amber eye,
the blue amber eye, and the was it the rainwater Supergiants? I'm not 100%.
Yeah, the rainwater, yeah.
Yeah, bear in mind, my memory's obviously awful, as you know. But yeah, so breed what you want to breed. If you knew you wanted to breed that, you would have had to ask. Not that you asked me, but you wouldn't have kind of questioned it. You would have been like, "I want a gecko." You know what I mean? Like, if I see something I want and want to produce, there's no, I'm going to get that. I want that. I'm going to get that. That's one advice. Second is go into it slowly. Don't rush in with. I say that. So, your best advice is to go into it slowly, unless you do the research like you have yourself. Not a lot of people do as much research as you have, so they get 2 geckos or 3 or 4, and then they breed and they end up with 20, 30 babies, and they're like, oh my god, I don't know what to do with these. And I see it a lot. I always say go into it slowly and build a reputation. Quality over quantity all the time.
With me, it's like you said, like if I ask, I never end up getting it. Like if I have to ask somebody, I never end up doing it, because the ones that I do end up doing, I just did it. Like, like I just saw it and I'm like, nope, that's it. So yeah, I pulled the trigger. Me, I don't go above my means. I'm lucky to the downside of me having to go into working as young as I did was I'm at a point earlier in my life where I'm doing all right and I'm doing what I'm supposed to. So I'm able to do that. And I don't feel I've overstretched myself. I felt I've built taking this year to be ready for next year. And I'm still getting a lot of really good things, especially towards the end of the year with bold stripes. I'm about to, and about my Sunfire just started to ovulate. So I'm going to have good Sunfires starting for beginning of next year. So I think I've put myself in a good place. And I know, and I try to stress it, but I know there's not a lot of people that can do that. Yeah. So yes, you have to start. If you can't afford to get into it and do it. Watch, listen, learn, and be prepared, because there's going to be, waves and lulls with all this kind of thing, and be prepared, like when you're surfing, to jump in at the right time and to go through it. So, yeah, I agree 100% that, if you not everybody can do it like certain people, but you have to put in the work. The biggest thing I stress is don't just step on the backs of everybody who's been doing this and ignore it and just, oh, hey, boom, psh. I could easily have done that and then started passing everything as my own, but don't do that. You go in there, get it, make it clear, hey, what I've got is because of these great people.
Yeah.
But the reason I've got it from these great people is because I know with 100% certainty I don't have to go test and do this. You're getting 100% pure, good genetics.
Yep.
And I say pure, good genetics. That's the key,
Yeah. That's another piece of advice I would give. Always go to the top breeders. Make sure you do your research on who you're buying from.
And even if it's not the top breeder, it still can be people that have gone to the top breeder. Yeah. Ask what were their parents and what were their parents' parents. Did they come from Gecko Boa? Oh, okay. So at least I know, and you've been looking. Like you can come to me and I'm not at the top, but you can say, well, looking at what Trace put out there, everybody should know that's seen anything with me that I went to Steve Sykes and I went to Jeff and I went to there and I went to this. So that I know. So if you go to somebody and they have really beautiful geckos, they could have just got very lucky, and they don't know what's behind it. So there's all kind of mess in there, and there's no guarantee you're going to do that. So
I agree with that too, yeah.
On the flip side of that, what advice would you give to the people that have been in this industry for a while? Maybe it's be humble or be honest or stop breeding black knights because you want to corner the market.
No, advice. I don't think I could. My advice could benefit the long time.
You'd be surprised. Everybody has, especially people that have been in a little bit. You can see you have a fresh perspective of somebody who's been doing it 25 years, and there's things you can say that, like, hey, like what I try to tell like people like Ilka. You might not be the biggest fan of social media or, but it's life. Like you have to have an Instagram. I might hate Instagram or Facebook, or it's life now. You have got to adapt.
Yeah, it's very true. Yeah. Advice. I like to touch on egos. Some egos are very, very high, and they think just because we're at the top, kind of you peg down the underdogs, and I think people should always help the underdogs, the people that want to rise, the people that are after it. So the advice with all the longer term breeders is share that advice.
Yeah,
love you for
it. If you're trying to make a business out of something, customer service is number one.
Yeah.
You have to remember that you are trying to build a name, and you are trying to not just sell one gecko to somebody. You want to sell 5 geckos, because the biggest thing about geckos, it's like drugs. Give away that first one for free, and they will keep coming back to you. And because you're going to end up with more than one. They're so easy to keep and care for. It's going to happen. So even if that person, and I know you experience this way more than I do, even if that one person comes to you and asks you all these questions, but then ends up buying it somewhere else, and then still comes back and asks you questions. I've had that experience already 3 times. And I don't even have that many geckos up for sale, or but it's building that comfort and that relationship with people that eventually they're going to want to come back to you. And it's, you have, and I have experienced a lot of people. I haven't ever tried to talk to people like Steve or John Scarborough, but
lovely people.
Yeah, I have an email a little bit with John, but you can tell he's so busy. It must be so nice to be able to throw 30 geckos up at 12 o'clock on a Sunday night and they're gone before the morning. But you have to have that talk and that relationship and that back and forth, and because you want people to keep coming back. It's like, I try to explain to people, Home Depot has a zero question guarantee when you're doing returns.
Yeah.
Because they know you're going to take that money and go back out there and spend it tenfold. If you can come in there and exchange it. Customer service is key. You have to be on top of making the people that are buying your stuff happy.
Yeah, totally agree. Yeah.
So, all right. Thank you, Jay. I really appreciate you coming on again. It's great. You're the exact person we just talked about. Even though you put a video out and it hits 1 million people in a week, you still humbly will talk to me at any hour of the night. You will share and post anything. You're an absolute great guy. You for all costs, you should be up there with not answering anything, and you still do it. So before we finish, anything you want the people watching to hear, to say, to promote, to upcoming lives and talks? You've been doing a lot of them. Hopefully this was a little different, a little bit more refreshing. But what do you want anybody to hear?
The only thing I can promote is the fact that I will have a few products that will I'll be shipping worldwide, and it's just a few. It's these black tongs with my name on them, Eco Geckos, and these hides. I think they come in 3 sizes. That'll be available for everyone worldwide. So that's something I'm really looking forward to sending out. Other than that, it's just I'll just carry on posting on Instagram and Facebook, of course.
Awesome. Well, again, I really appreciate it. I am now going to go spend some time with my family before we take off. Stay on real quick. I'm going to say goodbye, and then we'll talk a little bit for a second. But everybody, thank you for tuning in. I really do appreciate it. I hope you're liking the content. I'm working to get it better and better every time. We're going to have really big names. There's other big stuff coming. You won't see this because this will come out afterwards, but I'm going to be on the Herping Hour tonight, and it should be on for Sunday. Please check out the content, subscribe, click the alert so you can see the new videos. I'm trying to bring out something new every week, showing off my geckos, showing off other people's like Jay. Keep coming back. I really appreciate it. So for everybody tuned in, thank you.